Hi, I'm Bob Dowd. I'm a member of the Stanislaus Library Foundation. We're a bunch of volunteers who love our library system, and we're doing lots of things to make sure it remains open for all of us. We just started a brand new video profile series that tells you about the people at the library. Why? Because a really good library is much, much more than just books. And even though we have several million books at the library, without the people there, they're just books. So go visit the library. And this June, vote yes in the election to extend the sales tax. Because without that financial support, all those great books and all those helpful people may go away. Thanks very much. Hi, Olga. How are you today?
Doing well.
Tell us a little bit, what do you do at the Modesto Library?
Well, doing something I truly enjoy. I love helping people find the information they're looking for.
Right.
Some people come in wanting to find books, to do homework, or just for their personal growth. Also, we help them over the phone, by email, by fax. We help them.
That's great. That's great. How many, let me ask you, how many, when you're on a typical day, how many people do you think you help with their requests for information?
Probably over 100
Wow.
or close to 100.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, even though I've been coming here for years, how many people are at the downtown Modesto Library actually up front helping people approximately?
I would say about 45, 50.
Okay, good. I understand you've been doing this for a few years with the Modesto Library, correct?
Correct.
How many years is that? How many years have you been with the Modesto Downtown Library?
It's been about 9 years.
Okay. Could you also tell us what you used to do at the Children's Library?
Well, it was such a privilege doing storytime programs, and in fact, that was what I was hired to do. And I say it was a privilege because an essential component are, of course, children. And you see their bright faces, shining eyes, and they are transformed during a storytime program. It is just so exciting to be part of that. I, unlike many librarians, wasn't an avid reader. In fact, my first book that I read for pleasure was as a sophomore in college.
Oh, really?
And so when parents would approach me because they were having trouble with their children as far as their reading, I would be able to connect with them, and I would be able to help make the connection for that child in reading. Perhaps another neat thing about story time is that you take the child where he or she is at, and then just slowly help them make that transition from just not participating at all to little by little becoming exhilarated and wanting to participate. So it's just a great joy to be part of that.
Wonderful. Tell us about the unique program you started in the juvenile library.
Yes, and I believe you're referring to the Day of the Child, Day of the Book.
Right.
It's a program that actually was brought by Anita, another children's librarian, back in 1996. I helped to expand it. It grew from being just a program with a special performer to being celebrated at 4 different branches with free new book giveaways and storytime programs, as well as various activities. So here in Modesto, last year we had about 600 participants. At the Riverbank branch, there were over 100. Tremendous success like that could only be accomplished by just by collaborating with, in our case, was with Raising a Reader program through Modesto City Schools, and also thanks to our long-time supporters, the Friends of the Modesto Library.
When did you first want to become a librarian?
Well, I earned my my bachelor's degree in business administration. And I actually worked on the field for a couple of years. And sure, I could make a living, but it wasn't fulfilling. So after pondering, I went back to school and earned a teaching credential. Afterwards, I started to raise a family, and a neighbor brought me here to the Modesto Library for a storytime program. And it was just such a magical place, and it was just a whole new concept of reading, and it transformed my life in the sense that it helped me create lifelong friendships, and again, just seeing how storytime programs, well done storytime programs, have that potential to transform children and their attitude towards learning, towards reading, and it's just incredible.
Great.
And so maybe a couple years after that, that's when I began doing my own storytime programs. And I experienced firsthand that transformation of children. And again, I've had so many parents come up and thank the library, because they've noticed that change in their children.
Let me ask you this: since you're a parent yourself, and how many children do you have?
2.
Okay, and you're an expert in words. Any tips for folks who want to make sure that their children grow up to love words and books and the library?
I would just make sure that I was enjoying what I was doing, because children are experts at picking up subtle, perhaps mannerisms, or they know the true meaning behind your words. And they can read your body language. So even though if you say, "Oh, come, let's read," but if they're worried or they're anxious or they just want to get through it really fast, they begin developing a sense of, well, maybe reading isn't that fun after all. Maybe reading is a chore. Really select books that you as a parent enjoy, and make sure that you are enjoying it.
I know firsthand that you and your colleagues are very, very good at customer service. Did that come naturally to you all, or were you folks trained to do that?
We are formally trained as new employees, but perhaps more importantly, we take to heart what our customers have to say to us.
I just had a thought, a question: when somebody comes to visit you at your job with a question, whatever that question is, do you kind of look upon it as a challenge, a riddle to be solved?
Well, that's what makes this job so mentally challenging and stimulating, is that sometimes customers don't really know what they're looking for. They have this black hole, and they have this question, but they don't exactly know what it is that they need. And so it is our job to ask them questions that would help them come to figure out exactly what kind of information is looking for. So that is precisely what makes this profession so dynamic and so again, mentally challenging.
Yeah. And with all the modern technology about ebooks these days, give us a crystal ball prediction. How do you see our library in about 5 years from now? What do you think? How do you foresee that?
Well, no one can exactly predict what the future would look like in 5 years. I think our choices will depend on 2 things. First, what our customers need, and of course available funds. Now, thanks to the Library Foundation, we will be introducing ebooks in the late spring, and there will be other changes but there will always be a demand for storytime programs, for physical books. The physicality of books is so essential to children's development. So I don't foresee any major drastic changes.
Okay, good. And is there any subject that, while we were talking, spontaneous, that you want to kind of cover?
That a library without dedicated personnel becomes just a room full of books.